Hello ladies and gentlemen, today on this channel I have decided to talk about an area of my gaming life which I have not touched upon a great deal on this channel so far. If you are aware of my works, you will know that I own an absolutely huge retro gaming collection. I have consoles to microcomputers, all sorts of bits and pieces. However, I have not acquired that many PC games over the years, and there are reasons for that which I'm about to get into. In order to get some perspective, we need to go back to the early parts of my gaming history. At a very young age, I would be taken to arcades by my mum and dad on holidays in the Mediterranean, and I would have good fun just button bashing and banging the crap out of the buttons. And then at just the age of 3 years, in 1989, my uncle gave me his hand-me-down Amstrad CPC 464 microcomputer, and I used to play a lot of games on there as well. You could make a case that the Amstrad CPC 464 is a PC in itself. It's a computer, and it's certainly a personal one. However, when people talk about PCs today, they're often really referring to IBM compatibles, I believe. So, as I said, my first real computing experience was with the Amstrad, and it had a lot of limitations, much like many other microcomputers did at the time, especially by 1989. It was not long at all before that Amstrad was upgraded just a couple of years later for a Super Nintendo, and wow, what a world of difference that was, especially when you look at the time period in which the Amstrad was released and the Super Nintendo. You've got nearly a decade in between. But one of the main issues I always had with the Amstrad as a child was the long load times. Whenever you put one of the cassette tapes into the device, you would have to wait around 6 minutes before you actually got to play the game. And I know 6 minutes isn't that long when you look at modern hardware like the PlayStation 4 with all its bloody updates and stuff like that, but 6 minutes for a bloody 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, that's a long time. You've got to think about time perspective as well. The older we get, the shorter periods of time feel. So obviously when you've only been on the planet for 4 or 5 years, 6 minutes feels like forever. That's probably like the equivalent of like 45 minutes for an adult. So it's a long time to play a very simple game. But like I said, a few years later, my brain was absolutely blown by what the Super Nintendo could do in comparison, where I could literally put a cartridge into the system and like magic, it could play. No load times. That was absolutely amazing for me. And obviously the graphics were a million times better, the games were a billion times bigger. It was just great fun. My Super Nintendo, like I've talked about it a lot on this channel before, as I said, it's a system very close to my heart. So what was next for me in terms of living room gaming? Well, believe it or not, it was an IBM compatible PC, which I received once again from my uncle in 1995. Now this was a very different scenario to the Amstrad before. This PC, on the other hand, was high tech and brand new. There was a reason for this as well, why he felt the need to buy myself and my brother such a new system, and it was because my brother was actually suffering with his education at the time. He was only 6 or 7 years old, but he was falling behind a bit at school. I believe he was a whole year behind because he had only just been diagnosed with dyslexia. So he was obviously having trouble writing and reading, etc. So the idea was to get him a PC so he could use educational software, and so that he could obviously type documents in Microsoft Word and stuff like that. And what I will say, this actually paid off. Well, that paid off along with good parenting and good provisions and everything else, because now my brother is a wealthy television producer who lives over in Sydney, Australia. So well done to my family for introducing this PC into our lives. It's certainly done us a lot of good. But what about in terms of gaming? Now, this is where things start to get a little sticky. I already mentioned the limitations of the Amstrad previously, but what about the PC? Now, in regards to the PC, I have to talk about the Super Nintendo just that little bit more for a second. I was actually really excited about my uncle actually coming around and delivering and setting up this PC. I can still remember this to this very day. I was actually sitting down on my sofa playing Super Mario Bros. 3 from Mario All-Stars. on the big television, and literally thinking to myself in my brain, I can still remember my thought pattern, thinking, is this going to be the last ever time I play the Super Nintendo? Because this new computer we're getting is much bigger and probably better than the Super Nintendo. The games it's going to be able to run are going to be much bigger and more powerful, etc. And it's going to be like the Amstrad. I'm not really going to play it anymore. Those were the inferences I was starting to draw in my head about getting this PC. And going back once again to British culture, we never really ever looked at PC gaming and console gaming as two separate things very much either. They was all simply computer games. Like if I was playing a Super Nintendo cartridge, I would refer to it as a computer game, and I probably still do to this very day if I'm talking casually to other Brits, and I'd say to them, so what computer games are you into? And when I say that, I'm actually incorporating console gaming into it as well, because let's be fair, all of these devices are types of computers anyway, so whether it's a PC or a games console, they are still different kinds of computers. So, but I am getting sidetracked a bit now. So my inference, as I said, I'm not going to need this Super Nintendo anymore. It's weak and pathetic in comparison to this high-end PC I've just got in my household. And from what I believe, it did come with a few CDs as well. So yes, it had a CD-ROM too, which was pretty cool at the time. So I do remember some games, but not many particularly impressing me that much. They was very, very different to what I was playing on my console. So let me think back to some of these titles and see if any old school PC enthusiasts have any experience with them. I remember playing a game called Dr. Brain quite a lot, where it was just some sort of like odd puzzle game where you'd have puzzles, I suppose. It was obviously like space pinball and solitaire and Minesweeper and everything else you get built in with Windows. I think there was a game called Beast Wars, which was like some beat 'em up, but I remember the animation was really, really good. It might have been called Beast Wars. Like I said, it's hard to even think back at this point, but the animation was very good in comparison to what I was getting on the Super Nintendo. And round friends' houses as well, I played games like Doom and stuff like that. And these games were okay, but like I said, I hadn't actually played anything yet, which gave me the same amount of fun as what I'd been getting on my console at the time. You know, obviously I was probably just playing the wrong games, but nothing I played particularly, what I've not mentioned yet anyway, hooked me in that much. But it wasn't so much the games which were the problem, because games were games, they were fun, but my issues were the amount of effort you had to go to simply play these games. Firstly, you had to read through like the instruction manual, work out how to actually install the game onto your system, because each game seemed to have a completely different process to setting it up. Well, at least that's how it felt to a 9-year-old. And further on from that as well, the load time. Again, it was back like having an Amstrad again. Every time you wanted to play a game, you'd have to power on the system, you'd have to sit there, wait for it to boot up, and only then, after you've waited for bloody ages, probably again a good 5 or 6 minutes, you got to actually play the game. And some of the games felt really complex as well, setting up. Apart from having to use Windows, some of the games were on Windows, some of them was on DOS. And to use DOS, from what I remember, you had to exit Windows completely and start inputting a load of commands. Again, for a child, quite confusing. Nowhere near as pick up and play as what we could get on the much cheaper games consoles, which I always found strange. The games consoles were the cheap devices, so how come the expensive high-end PCs you had to faff around a lot more simply to do anything? It was really, really annoying. And then, this was one of the kicker, once you got many of the games up, well, at least when I got many of the games up as a 9-year-old, you'd be playing them, then halfway through, you just get a notification on your screen, which like, and it would just flash up with, your computer has performed an illegal operation. Please contact your system administrator. And here I am, 9 years old, thinking, what have I done wrong? What has my computer done? I've performed an illegal operation. I thought everything I was doing was completely above board. What's illegal about any of this? And just being very frustrated. And that brings me on to another thing about being slightly scared about what an illegal operation actually is. These computers, for children, 9-year-olds, were very, very intimidating. These are expensive high-end devices, and due to that reason, I always had my parents down my neck all the time saying, oh, you better be careful with that computer, you might give it a virus. Even though he wasn't even online at that time, I might add. But I was constantly being scared by them that I might put a virus on the computer, or that I might accidentally break it or something. And I remember I had to, whenever I put in floppy disks, what came from magazines and stuff like that. I used to have to, well, my parents used to make me virus scan them in case I would get any like dodgy software on them that again screws up the computer. So there was definitely provisions put in place to protect it, but at the same time I was always half scared of the PC for what damage I was going to do to it, because I said it was very temperamental and complicated. At least that's how it felt to me at the time. So why did I hate PC gaming? Just because of how bloody inconvenient it was in comparison to my games consoles. Super Nintendo, great. A few years later got this Nintendo 64 and PlayStation as well, great. Had a little bit of annoying load times, but again, not complicated like the PC. So I believe times have changed a little bit now though, which we will get to in this video, but I've got more to talk about still. I have one really positive PC gaming memory from back in the mid-90s, and that's my experience with a game I believe is called Woodruff and the Snivel of Azimuth, and it's a point and click adventure game by Sierra, and it's really odd and quirky and fun. Like the humour in the whole thing is very almost Monty Python-esque, I suppose, and the storyline is just, it's odd and bizarre. It's a bit like watching a David Firth cartoon, I would say, like almost Salad Fingers like. It's just strange and odd. League of Gentlemen. It's a lot of dark, quirky humour. I had a lot of fun with that game, and for some reason no one ever talks about it. Like I've not seen on any YouTube channel, although there probably are videos, anyone talking about Woodruff, an amazing top quality point and click adventure game, which is really sad. And I'd really like to play it again, but I'm still not that literate when it comes to PC gaming. And I've tried installing DOSBox on my computer, but I've never managed to get Woodruff to run in the DOSBox, because I remember I definitely had to exit Windows and go to DOS to play this game. So if anyone can help me in the comment section getting a Woodruff and the Snivel of Azimuth running on DOSBox, then I would highly appreciate it. Anyway, it's not the mid-1990s anymore, and PC gaming appears to have come on leaps and bounds. In fact, many of the problems in which I suffered with PCs in the mid-90s are now console problems. We've gone backwards in many ways. Like, how annoying is the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One? These days, just like the PC back in the day, you have to put the disc in the system, you then have to install it, you have to worry about updates. It's just contrived and crap. It's no longer pick up and play, which has always been the most important thing about games to me. I want to put the game in, then bang, play straight away. In fact, from what I know, PC game is perhaps more pick up and play than most console games now, because if you have something like Steam, for example, a lot of the games are simple indie titles, so you just download them, then get to play them straight away with little installation and other faffing around. So PC gaming and console gaming is more closer today than it has ever been before. So slowly, as I build up this channel, and once I become full-time, hopefully I'll be able to delve more heavily into the world of PC gaming and Steam properly. I would really like to do that. Like I said, the only reason I've not really delved into it that much is being a creature of habit due to the negative experiences I had with PCs back in the 90s. So I've just kind of gravitated to console that way. So there's nothing wrong with PC gaming today, but I've jumped towards consoles for a reason. But with consoles now, putting all the crap on what I used to suffer with PCs, now there's no reason for me not to go back to the PC, I suppose. And yes, hopefully one day I'll be able to get that Woodruff amazing point and click adventure game to work on my system once again. Actually, this brings me on to another point. Speaking of amazing point and click adventure games, my friend Falco, who runs the high quality Top Hats and Champagne YouTube channel, is actually going through a little bit of a career transition at the moment. Anyone who's a big fan of his channel will be familiar with his works and how he's often produced amusing videos regarding how much better PC gaming is than console gaming, and taking the mickey out of console peasants such as myself. He's actually decided to go down a different career path recently, and he decided to put his money where his mouth is, and he's going to become an actual bloody developer instead. I say going to, no, he's actually become a developer, I should say, and he is about to try and bring out a point and click adventure game which he has or is developing himself. So I'm going to show you his Kickstarter trailer right now.
Oh, Lord, that headache. What happened? Last thing I remember is me and Hussard drinking something green.
My home is born home.
Hey chummer, welcome to Born Home. I hope that unlike our main character Evie, you're having a splendid and amazing day. She's unfortunately suffering from a bit of a heavy hangover. My name is Falco, and I'm here today to tell you everything that you could possibly want to know about our game Born Punk. We have action.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't necessary, but dreck, that felt good. Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about! Plugging in. Open sesame. Evie 1, stubborn tech 0.
We have drama.
Stop! Stop it already! I'm gonna kill whoever put this dreck in my drink.
We have evil and mysterious corporate CEOs.
It's true. I'm evil. Evil.
We have bartenders with half a face, and instead of a hand, they have a cocktail glass.
I never really used that hand anyway. Oh, and I have a bar too.
We have a great main theme and various other tracks composed by Jeff Kurtenecker of Wildstar and World of Warcraft fame.
We rise to the heavens in ships and on steel.
Lots, and I mean lots of lore and background info about the universe you're playing in. And of course, we have our main character, Evie.
No! Don't make me shoot you, Fawcett!
All silliness aside, we are trying to build an awesome, complex cyberpunk universe for you. One tackling serious topics, one that can be funny at times, and one that portrays hope. We want to make adventure gamers of the 80s and 90s proud, and provide them with a game that is very much like the games that they used to play. But we also want to cater to modern gamers by leaving some of the baggage that makes it hard for them to get interested in this revered genre behind. I encourage you to try out our gameplay demo, which you can find right below this video screen. If you're not interested in playing the demo or visit us from a console or mobile device, you will also find a gameplay walkthrough video below. And now I shall leave you to it. Cheers from InsertThis22, and thank you for your support should you choose to become a backer.
So that's Falco's up-and-coming game. I will say that Falco is a fantastic, efficient German who I have a lot of time for, as we spent a lot of time creating content and having a laugh together over in Sydney, Australia, where he currently resides. If you want to check out his channel, Top Hats and Champagne, to see some of his further content, then I will be placing links in the description, along with placing links to his Kickstarter campaign in order to help make these ideas become a reality. But once again, it is thanks to Falco and his Kickstarter campaign to bring this point and click adventure to life. They actually brought back all the memories of playing Woodruff as a child. That was a very fun experience, and I'd perhaps like to play more games in this genre down the line. In fact, I would even go as far to say as Falco's video on his Kickstarter actually triggered memories of playing point and click adventure games back in the day. But now PC gaming has finally risen to the challenge of becoming a better platform. Now that PCs actually work properly and do not perform illegal operations every couple of minutes, I can actually sit back and enjoy these point and click adventure games like they are designed to be experienced. Like thinking back once again, moaning back to my 90s PC games, I never even used to be able to save Woodruff, so if ever I completed it, which I did several times, I used to sit through it and play it from the bloody start to the bloody finish, because every time I hit the save button it would perform that annoying illegal operation thing, which I still do not fully understand to this bloody day. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I personally will be putting my money where my mouth is and partially funding this game to become a reality, because why would I not back my top hat YouTube brother in arms? Finally, I would like you all to recommend to me in the comment section some other great point and click adventure games for the PC platform, especially ones by Sierra or games that came out around the same time as Woodruff with quirky charm, especially some more obscure ones which I'm not likely to have heard of. So, ladies and gentlemen, please have a look at Falco's Kickstarter. Cheerio!